Okay, let's look at this slide now. Market for directors. We're really saying what are the factors that made big question on top. Do directors with current CEO level experience, that is not just historic CEO experience, excuse me, not just historic CEO experience, but current increase or decrease board quality. They say there's a plus, they have put one plus and one negative. And I want you to think of this in our context here. Active CEOs have managerial, industrial, and functional knowledge. That's up to date. Yes, it's a plus. But then the question is, active CEOs are busy. Question, can they manage their own company and still have time to advise and monitor another or others? What do you think? I understand that Jack Welch, when he was the CEO of General Electric, they wouldn't allow him to sit on the board. They said he has big job, big company, he has to focus on his own board. And therefore they were saying active CEOs are busy. They didn't want him to do a bad job, especially of his own company. That's General Electric. What do you think? How does it apply to Jamaica? Nadine, are you there? Keisha Ann, any more comments? Cheryl? Good. Before we go on, look at this again, the small. Okay, sorry, Dion. Okay. You think there is a definite benefit for an active CEO to board improve board quality, Dion. But what about what is the maximum number of boards you think this CEO, outside boards, that the CEO should sit on? Whether it's a publicly traded company, whether it's a privately owned business, or it's like an NGO, non-governmental organization, or government company. What do you think? Okay, Colleen, what is your thinking there? Leon, you said 2. I'm not chairing the other boards, fair enough. What about Colleen? You have a different opinion. What is your thinking? Okay, the word is too much, especially in this globalized 21st century, where the world is your competition. Okay. Anybody, any other comments here? Okay. Look at the little box at the bottom. More than half of Standard & Poor 500 companies limit outside directorships for their CEO. A policy not widely in effect a few years ago. So in other words, it's becoming more the norm worldwide. CEOs should focus on their own company. Okay. Josephine, related company, you're saying it should be a related company, in other words, part of their business. Okay, agree. So there's a difference of opinion here. Dion, think that some CEOs should or could sit on other boards, and Colleen and Joel Lefine and Keisha and David May should then related company boards. Okay. There's one other question I wanted, or one other point I wanted to consider. What about we have the issue of governance of, let's say, government companies and NGOs? Anybody think, question how are they going to get good business managerial advice? And that's a big question. I mean, maybe the CEO doesn't benefit much from sitting there on these companies, but in terms of running of a company or government sector, public sector, what we want to have them to benefit from some expertise in the business sector. I'll leave it to think about that, but feel free to make a comment if necessary. Okay. Now, this is another aspect. I don't want you to think of this. We live in a globalized world. This is now the second period of globalization from, say, the mid-80s, early 90s to the present. It's still with us. And the first period of globalization was the late 18th century, up to the beginning of the First World War. And Jamaica, 30 years ago, 25, 30 years ago, was a fairly closed economy. We had high tariffs. Most competition for our companies, local companies, was domestic. It's increasingly not the case. Increasingly, they're competing against domestic companies, but also international companies. And it becomes even more important when you're trying to compete in export markets. So, what about the issue of international experience? Would that mean we should really have more board members who are living elsewhere, whether they are of Jamaican background or what they have basically US or South African or Argentinian, for example, experience and exposure? Okay. Bank account. Let us stop this and come back to this. Would might that not restrict the signing of checks or the granting of permission to transfer funds, whatever is necessary to keep the financial function going? Is it that you don't want any outside directors, or is it that you only want CEOs, or is it that you want CEOs and management? We have a big company, might be quite what Keisha explained, or CEO, just a CEO, not and management, but not directors, non-management directors. Keisha, are you saying that this company, that you should have more people who call it just a CEO? No, I don't think it makes sense. I think that's what Keisha is saying, because especially if it's a big listed company, things will come to a grinding halt. People are out of town, or they're in a meeting, and the question is, how much is too few? When do you have too many signatories, you lose control, and when do you have too few, and everything comes to a snail, everything snarls up? Ishan, any thoughts on that? Okay. Okay. What about transfers? Same arrangements? Who should be, apart from the CEO, who should be designated signing officers? What type of? Ishan and Colleen has a question there. Okay. Okay. Right, I understand. It's a private company. Okay. Reasonable, Ishan. You don't want one person to be the only signatory. That's why you want some controls on that per signatory as well.